My name is Scott Freed, and I got infected with HIV in 1987, 31 years ago, and I met Marianne a few months later. In this apartment, we would sit here on Wednesday nights and we would talk. We'd come together to breathe and exhale and find hope. Marianne said in this very room, I cannot add years to your life, but I can add life to your years. And here's how I can do that. And we leaned forward on the edge of the couch 30 years ago, and she said, here's how you can do it. Serve, be useful, make yourself useful. Your T cells can be useful. There was a man who was so tired because his medicine made him fall asleep and he didn't want to take his meds. And she said, you need to take your meds. And he said, they'll make me fall asleep. She said, so you'll sleep and we'll talk around you and you'll still get the message because you're still going to get the love that we're here to give you, but you need to take your meds. One of the men who was in the circle once said, I thought that AIDS would make me big, but I realized that AIDS only showed me how big I've always been. Marianne taught us how big we can be and how big we are. The greatest memory I have was when a young Jewish woman named Jennifer stood up in this room and said, I have AIDS, and the thing that bothers me is that I got it because it was loveless sex. And she turned and looked at me, and I looked at her, and Marianne said, well, let's pray for you. Her prayer was this: please, God, we're not going to ask you to take the HIV AIDS away. We will do that. We will work on the disease with medication and prayer and faith and, medication. We'll work with the virus. What we need from you, God, is to take away the shame and to take away the guilt. And I'll never forget the cadence of how she said it. 30 years ago, she said, because that is too much for us to bear. And in that moment, I cried for the first time since I got my diagnosis 31 years ago. And I cried because I knew there was a possibility. Marianne Williamson gave me so much hope and showed me how big my life can be, how big I've always been. Marianne Williamson gave me an opportunity to recognize that there's so much more to live for. My favorite quote of hers, and I took notes in the meeting and they're here, my favorite quote of hers is this one, and it says, there are people who will hear this message from you that will not hear it from me. 30 years ago she said that. So look, hear it from me. Marianne Williamson gave me a reason to stay alive.